I'm good.
Okay, I'll go ahead and call the meeting to order. Today, February 16th, 2021. First item of business is the approval of the agenda. Are there any changes for tonight? Hearing none, then is there a motion to approve the agenda as presented?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any question or discussion? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Next is the approval of the minutes. Have our regular meeting minutes from February 2nd. After having had a chance to review those as distributed by the clerk, what's the pleasure of the board?
I move that we approve the minutes as presented.
Is there a second? All right, any question or discussion? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Administrative reports. I don't have anything to report this evening. Commissioner Jones, we'll start with you.
We just had a first library board meeting, and the library board was very pleased with the COLA increase. Very appreciative. Wanted to give that information to other commissioners.
Okay.
SCC, the new health science building is 90% complete.
It looks like it.
The third floor is finished. They're working on the second floor. Furniture is not in there. Obviously, get to the construction. The entry, the exterior is finished. There's signage and some entry work needs to be done. They will do a tour here in another month or so. Classes should start in the fall. And I will have to say, that 90% kind of comes back around. In the last fall, the nursing school had a 94% passing rate of the state test.
Oh my goodness.
Incredible.
That is
And,
94.
we're getting ready to come back in that brand new facility, all the energy and excitement and great instructors. And I'll just say, no other of the 5 counties and all the community colleges around us, none of them had a higher than 90%. So SCC is doing very well. Just wanted to report on that success of the nursing program. And there's also some preliminary talk with the hospitals and the facility on having some type of health care for individuals that have some insurance needs. Those talks are in the works. So it's all good, all positive.
Very good.
That's all, Jim.
Commissioner Dietz, any report tonight? Okay. Commissioner Woody, any report?
I have 2 things that I'd like to bring to the attention of the public as well as the board. We all the commissioners received a letter from Tim Fox with good news that the fines that were levied against the corporation that caused a lot of the damage in Cullowhee, they had 3 notices of violations, and 3 of those have been, they had 4. 3 have been paid in full to a total of $51,319.37. And I know we had talked about that earlier, whether they were paying those fines. And so that was nice to have that information following up. There's still 1 outstanding notice of violation. So that could still but he said this, and I feel like it's important to bring this to the recognition of everyone. Secondly, he said, I want to recognize 2 individuals that were instrumental in communicating site conditions to DWR, Steve Beasley and Ken Brown. Steve Beasley with Jackson County Erosion Control assisted us with emails and site pictures all along the way. And he has since retired, but I believe he's going to be consulting or helping at some point. But I just want to recognize his work, and obviously Tim Fox from North Carolina Department of Environmental Quality felt like he did a good job. Then he goes on to say, I hope the county will recognize Ken Brown with the Watershed Association of the Tuckasegee River Water. Mr. Brown's diligent reporting of current site conditions helped our division to get to the site in time to document site conditions. Mr. Brown was the voice for many individuals who were concerned about the impact to water quality downstream of the site. I have never met a more dedicated and passionate individual who cares as much about our environment and water quality. Mr. Brown should be considered a valued resource for your county. And I just want to express that I certainly personally value him, and I know that those of us that work with him in any way certainly value his contribution. And then last night we had our Board of Health meeting and had some excellent reports. Had a long discussion about the vaccination process and how that is going through. And we had some excellent input from our health board, which is made up of doctor, nurses, pharmacists, all those different health professions. And the thing that we all came away with was great admiration and thankfulness to the Department of Public Health for working through all the uncertainties and making the best of every situation when they could. Shelley Caraway, of course, cited Don Adams for his leadership in bringing together all the folks that were on that vaccination site. So we certainly appreciate his leadership in that. And then working with emergency management and the calls and things. There's a lot of issues coming up as we get to the next stages, and there's a lot more people. Those of us, and I'm in the group 65 and older, and I know Manager Adams has said this several times, when we get to that next group is much bigger. So the planning that they're doing and the way they're doing things is just great, and we appreciate that. We got to meet in the new building. It's absolutely beautiful and so functional. And the One Stop is working very well. And I wish former Commissioner Charles Elders was here to hear that. But everyone that they had talked to was so pleased with the way the One Stop is working. I know Commissioner McMahon and Commissioner Dietz were part of that. That was before our time, but they said it's working so well, and the people, the clients are so pleased to be able to come to one place. And they have Mitch Paris, who is kind of managing the flow of that and triaging people where they need to go and bringing the people together that need to. So it's going to really benefit our citizens in many ways.
Okay.
Oh, and animal control was fully staffed. I took a few notes.
Yeah.
They're fully staffed now, and we're very pleased about that.
Commissioner Stribley?
I have nothing to report tonight, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Adams?
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, I hope everybody's doing well. You should have the manager's report handed out to you. I'll go over these items and also have a couple other items just want to mention to the board. What you do have included in your packets is the standard zoning and building permit report for January 21. What you have in there obviously is a spreadsheet. And you can see that the planning department has issued one renovation addition zoning permit in the month of January, and code enforcement has issued 2 renovation addition permits in the month of January. This is a report that also gets shared with all the mayors throughout our community. Next item is in regards to just major construction projects. As just mentioned, our community service center, our health department, code enforcement, and planning department facility is occupied and fully functional. The contractor is finalizing small items, such as we're doing some hardware changes for some doors, adding some doors, removing some doors. We're installing blinds at this point. It'll take about 4 weeks for the blinds to be purchased, installed. We have temporary blinds up now, that are actually doing fairly well. I don't know if you noticed those blinds,
I did.
Commissioner Woody, but those blinds cost maybe like $3 each,
Well,
something to that extent. And then, but that's the reason, it's actually that you didn't notice it. It's sort of, it tests
well,
how well they look.
yeah, because I would have noticed if something was wrong.
Yeah, and so we have,
use them,
I'm sorry?
keep using them.
Well, they're taped up there, so I don't think they're necessarily, no, we're gonna order permanent blinds that will work and function for years to come, but, yeah. Get some more tape.
Gorilla Tape's good tape.
Gorilla glue is good glue too.
Now, there would be a visual welcome right there.
And so, but the only other thing is we're still working on the dumpster enclosure out there, and we'll have a final walkthrough be completed when this is all done. And obviously the building is under a year's contract. So before the year is up, if you recall, substantial completion was in December of 2020. What we'll do is around October and November, we'll do another pass through with maintenance and everybody. And we'll do one final look. And if there's any final warranty issues, we'll make sure the contractor comes out and completes it. But right now it's a fully functional occupied building. And yes, all I've heard is positive feedback in regards to the facility. The Animal Rescue Center, obviously that project's just getting started. It's technically about 2% complete, but demolition is near complete. The greenhouses, the old Webster building, the concrete, the steel, all that's gone. They've opened up the site. Where we're at right now is for all the utilities underground for that site, storm sewer, water sewer, things of that nature, it's actually a fairly tight site in regards to that. So the next stages right now is we're working on finalizing the grading and getting pretty much all the water and sewer and utilities in the ground. And hopefully we'll be able to do that with minimal disruption to SRC. But as stated before, if we do have to occasionally shut down, we'll just try to give as much notice as we can for the SRC for that area. The other item, I did throw some pictures in here for you just to talk about the Blue Ridge School Water and Sewer Project. Things such as the groundwater tank foundations, and we got pictures of that. That's been poured. You can see the concrete poured in there. Things like the piping associated with the water building, water facility, all that's going underground now. Other items such as the footers for the building for that facility has been laid out and poured for the building itself. So you can see that's been completed. So you can see the pour there. On site now is the block for the building itself. You can see that they're getting ready to look at the facility itself. And finally, the last thing that the last conversation I really had at the monthly meeting with them is that they're just having a lot of conversations about the grease trap that will be installed up there. They're replacing the grease trap for the kitchen. And so you can see, I threw some pictures in there for you. You can see where they're basically digging out the area and working in the grease trap area. Everything is proceeding forward well. I'll give kudos to our planning director and planning department, and others have been working really hard. If you recall, we gotten 2 additional CDBG grants to help pay for this operation. Well, what everybody didn't quite understand, of course, this board has gone through public hearings. This has really turned into 2 additional CDBG bureaucracy projects. And so staff has worked really hard and well. And Mr. Poston just told me he's going to come by my office tomorrow so that I can sign all the final documentation to get it into the state for final approval for the CDBG. The reason the timing of this is important is because ultimately the money we're spending right now is the original funds, and we need to get these 2 additional funds approved before we started spending those funds. So I just give kudos to the contractor, to Mr. Lofquist, the engineer and planning staff, because quite a bit of work to rearrange the original grant to 3 separate grants in order for us to qualify for that additional money. Other items I just wanted to note, if you look at if you go back to our agenda itself, just a reminder on the upcoming meetings. On the upcoming meetings, we do have a meeting next week, next Tuesday, February 23rd. Just a reminder, that's a budget retreat That meeting is at 1 p.m. being held at the Borough Building, SCC. Show up at 12 and we'll feed you. And then we'll start that process at 1 p.m. At that point, Commissioner Jones, we are going to have, since SCC is somewhat hosting this event, we will have Dr. Thomas attend the event, and he will also give a formal update to the board about the health sciences facility. And so there'll be a follow-up with that. And maybe from there too, we might go ahead and schedule the site visit that you were describing. But they'll be there. But just a reminder, budget retreat next Tuesday, February 23rd. Starts at 1 p.m. But if you show up at the Borough Building at SCC, but if you show up at noon, we'll have lunch there for you. The other item too is that I just want to remind everybody, and we're after tonight, after the board goes through these meetings and makes changes, we'll recreate another master list. But I would remind everybody to go back and look at your budget schedule, because if you look at the announcements here, we do have one. We have the budget retreat coming up February 23rd. We have the regular meeting March 2nd. We have a work session March 9th. Just a reminder, we also have a March 11th budget meeting at 1 p.m. I just want to make sure that gets onto your calendar. It wasn't on the agenda. And then we have a March 16th, 1 p.m. meeting. All right. And then would like to just go a little bit further in discussion. Commissioner Woody had brought this up about our mass vaccination sites. Just did have a management meeting with management at the health department and emergency management this morning. And really wanted to just release some preliminary information, not just for the board, but also for the newspapers here. We're going to start seeing announcements coming out in the next week in regards to what I'm about to tell the board. I'm pleased to tell the board that currently now our queue list, and I know it seems like a lot, is down to 3,000 people. These 3,000 people, when I say queue list, people waiting in line, these are people 65 and older. That's the groups 1 and 2, and we have about 3,000 people left. We do not believe that we have 3,000 people 65 and older waiting. We do believe, we're finding now as we're scheduling these sites, there are several people have found other places to go get their shots. And we also, again, through our call center, 631 HELP, we are receiving all calls from not just from Jackson County, but also from surrounding counties. And so currently that list is down to 3,000 or less. Now, just a reminder to the board, the 65 older population for our area is over 7,000, between 7,000 and 8,000, more like 7,800. That's based on the data that Mr. Poston had provided to me. So we had originally, the list today they showed me we had 7,000 originally in the queue. We're down to 3. Mm-hmm. So just to give you an idea. So I'm proud. I think we should be proud of how well we're working through this population group. Now, where we're at right now, we are planning for the next phases. Now, as you probably heard from the governor, I believe it's February 24th and then March 10th are the next phases that's coming out. February 24th would be the priority for the school teachers and then also daycare workers. And then March 10th, they have not released the next prioritization in the group 3. Now, where we're at, we're fortunate here that through the hospital, we were able to get our K through 12 system vaccinated. So what we're really dealing with is the daycare workers. Now, having said that, I know the governor released these dates, but we're not planning on addressing these next population groups until we have satisfactorily handled the 65 plus. Okay. So I just want to make sure everybody understands, even though those announcements have been made, we are targeting the 65, the groups 1 and 2 first, before we move on to whether it be daycare workers or what is released to be eligible March 10th. Now, having said that, we are planning right now, our current system of registration for 65 and plus is to call 631 HELP. and we register you there, and we basically handle that registration pretty much all the way through for you until it's your turn in line, and then we call you up and schedule you. To let you know, that's very labor intensive for our volunteers and county workers. So just to give you an idea, you call in, we register you on our Google Docs, we transfer that to the state CVMS system, then we call you back and then transfer that and enter that into our scheduling system. We're handling this data 3 times right now. So as you had mentioned, Commissioner Woody, that is not a sustainable model for our next population group. But we felt it necessary for the 65 and older group because we felt like that group had a higher percentage of people that maybe aren't on the internet, maybe don't have emails and things of that nature. For the next group, we are planning to transition, and this is the key part of what hopefully Beth and so forth, if you're listening, the next group past the 65 and older, we're transitioning eventually to an online scheduling system. So, and ultimately what we're going to do is we're getting away from handling this data 3 times, and we are developing a system that we feel like we will be ready to make an online. So you would go online, we release a schedule once a week. We haven't determined when that schedule is going to be yet, but we will release a schedule once a week, and then people can go online and schedule themselves. Now, we are still recognizing that we have a lot of citizens in our county that just don't have internet access. So what we're also doing is we're talking about transitioning our call center, their priorities to a different set of priorities. So right now, our current system is truly the registration system, the way you get a shot or vaccinated in Jackson County. So by state law, our federal laws, I believe, we're not allowed to just keep that to Jackson County residents. That's why we're taking phone calls from Waynesville and so forth. But Oregon. But when we transition to an online registration system, what we've done is we've separated access to how you get your shot. And once we do that, then we can turn our call center more directly to services to Jackson County citizens versus whoever calls that number. So once we transition to the online scheduling system, we will also start transitioning our call center to specifically help people learn how to register online. We'll provide them that information, but we'll also provide direct assistance to Jackson County residents who are not on the internet. And we will be able to limit this section to Jackson County residents because at this point, we're not restricting somebody from Haywood County or Macon County of going online and registering for our clinics. We're just providing assistance to our citizens who don't have internet. And that distinction is what's going to allow us to transition the primary function of that call center. And I give kudos to our team and people who are truly thinking this out, because ultimately what that's going to allow us to do is it's going to allow us to continue what we're doing now and quickly, hopefully get through the 65 plus population group. It's going to allow us to continue to provide service to our citizens who don't have internet access. And then it's also going to allow us to comply with the law in regards to how we register or how we allow people to sign up. Now, that is where we're at in this transition. Now, as the governor and the state comes out and starts releasing their guidance in regards to who are the next levels who are to receive the vaccinations, then that's really going to dictate on how we release this schedule when we say to the public. You know, right now, when I say an online registration process, a version of that would be making it available to everybody in the public. But another version of that is, for example, the next group of people that are in line are daycare workers. That can be a captured set of group. And we feel comfortable that we can target that group under the system that we're looking at. So we will be able to take care of targeting daycare workers, but also having a public online registration system. we'll come back with more information on this at a later time. I think the most important thing out of everything that we just said here is that we're getting ready to transition out of receiving phone calls to everybody who calls the 631 number and basically handling all that data entry from that phone call all the way to scheduling you and transitioning that to an online process. And right now, I'm not going to give a date, that we're talking about sometime in March. So we're going to allow for a transition time, and the health department and their staff and the public information officer will be following up here in the next week or so, releasing these dates of when we will make these transitions. So the final thing, just to update everybody, is that that Western Carolina University is now getting into the provider phase of this conversation. They were hoping to be running a site on campus this week, but where we have transitioned at this point is that you're going to hear announcements coming out for this Friday that ultimately Western Carolina University will be sponsoring an event at our Department on Aging facility. And so what really is happening here is that we're currently we have 800 shots this week. And currently we are feverishly scheduling. Jackson County is scheduling 300 of these people, and WCU is scheduling 500 of these people. What we're doing is we're bringing and partnering with WCU, and it's allowing them to transition into this instead of all of a sudden doing an event at WCU from the get-go. So this is going to allow WCU to, first of all, experience the scheduling aspect of this, which to get you sort of give everybody a little bit of understanding of that. Last week's event took 14 people calling all of these folks back from Monday through Wednesday, constantly. And we were doing it after hours too. So I'm just trying to tell you how labor intensive it is to get the scheduling done for the 65 plus. So by partnering with WCU, they're handling 500, we're handling 300, and it's going to allow them to, I don't know how to call it, sort of transition into being a provider. And then they're also going to come over to our site, and they're really going to get involved with, if you've been to our site, you'll understand what I'm saying. When you show up, we have to check and make sure you're in the CVMS system. We have to do all this administrative work on site. WCU is going to show up on site. They're going to assist with that, and that's going to give them real experience on that also. So hopefully what will happen after this is Thursday evening is when we are notified generally of what the shot count is the next week. And the plan would be is next week is that WCU will transition to their own clinic and we will continue with our clinic. And this is going to allow for us to continue on. And the good news about all of this is I think it allows them to slowly learn a process versus just being thrown in the middle of it. But they're also taking our queued people. So the beauty of this from this. So the beauty of this is, when I say beauty, but what I really enjoy the partnership with this is that the 2,000, 3,000 people that I just said we have in queue, that's who we're all talking about dealing with at this point, us and WCU. And if we're fortunate, what will happen is between us and WCU, then hopefully by March, mid-March, I don't want to put an exact time because this is dictated by how many shots we get a week. But we are really hoping that in March we can finish up with the 65 plus group. And between us and WCU, I believe we will be able to do that. And then that will allow us to transition to this online process. And by doing that, I believe we will be set to try to work with the community as a whole.
Are we getting more vaccines because Western Carolina is coming on the scene, or we're just getting more help?
Don't know. I know Thursday. So
Right now, it's just more help.
right now it's more help, but what that does do, our baseline is like somewhere between 200 and 300 a week. okay? By the state bringing WCU on, initially they were trying to give WCU without going about 900 or so this week, but we've had to sort of back up and develop this transition plan. I think between the two of us, I think it's going to increase the chances of us getting more vaccines within this community, Commissioner Deeds. And between the two of us, meaning WCU and Jackson County, and by us agreeing to work on the population group that we already have queued, which is the 65 plus, then I believe this helps increase the chances for us to get through that population group faster, whether it be through us or whether it be through WCU. And I think that's good news.
Now, I know Blue Ridge Health is doing some vaccines. Are they also pulling from this 65 plus group that's in our queue?
They're not using our queue, but it is the same queue. It is the same people. So that's why it's so labor intensive. Going back to my statement saying, I don't believe the entire 3,000 people are truly in queue now, because those parts of those 3,000 people are now going to Blue Ridge Health. And the only way we know that they're no longer in our queue is for us to physically call them. And then that's when they tell us whether or not, oh no, I'm at Blue Ridge Health. And we go to the next person in line when we're scheduling them. So that's a good point. Blue Ridge Health is also another partner who received this week, last week, about 400. So that's another partner that right now they're concentrating on the 65 and older too. And as I think we're all aware, that population group represents over 80% of the deaths of COVID. So that's why this group is so important. And I think it's all positive news.
One thing that we were told last night about Blue Ridge Health was that part of their allocation comes from a federal mandate to serve minority populations. So they have specifically reached out to some of the African American through Liberty Baptist Church, and Eleanor Bryson Forney was sharing with us. And also they hope to serve the Hispanic community as well. So they already have, several of those people are in their client base already. So they're not taken from our list, but they're definitely serving a vulnerable population.
And the final partner with this is the Highlands Cashers Hospital Group. They are actually putting on clinics also. And currently right now, I believe their next clinic will be at the hospital, but there are current conversations right now to partner with Jackson County and look at the rec center. So, and there is a percentage, and I don't want to quote a percentage, but there's a good percentage of that population group that the hospital serving is coming out of the Cashers area. And so between that and Blue Ridge Health and Jackson County and the WCU coming online, I believe we're making progress.
Yeah, and that was interesting too when Ms. Caraway shared with us that one big session that they had at the Highlands Hospital, Highlands Cashers Hospital in Highlands. They 40% of the people that went through lived in Macon County, 40% in Jackson County, and then the other 20% were people from South Carolina or somewhere else. So, yeah. And they can't turn them away like Manager Adams said. That's a federal mandate. You can't if the people qualify. But the other thing about WCU that they brought up that may increase our ability to have more vaccine is that they're going to have the capacity to store the Pfizer vaccine, which is a higher temperature than what we're getting now with the Moderna. Is that correct?
It's a lower, yeah.
Lower temperature. I'm sorry.
So,
Lower temperature. And so that is a plus because not every location can get that, can store it. So that may allow us to get extra doses here that other places couldn't because they couldn't store it.
So the perfect world, the perfect world for us would be exactly what you're saying, because it's Pfizer.
Yeah.
That they're getting an allocation, and then Jackson County, whether it be Jackson County or Blue Ridge Health or the Highlands Cashers Hospital, we're getting an allocation, which really increases overall allocation in our community. Where I'm going back to Commissioner Dietz's question about will we get more, hesitant to say, because first of all, because how things have changed literally on a weekly basis for the amounts. And so, for example, it started off Thursday evening, 975 Pfizer, at 300 us, and so we weren't getting 800, the Moderna. And so then we had to get in some conversations. The reason I had to change around is because WCU is not quite ready. They're not registered to receive it. And there's all sorts of rules about when it gets delivered to your community, who provides oversight and so forth. So we had to work it out. WCU just wasn't quite ready for that. So we worked it out and we got it changed back to 800 so that we could get some shots out. But my point of telling you that is that we didn't get 1,000 for WCU and 1,000 for us. It was down to 1,200 total. So the perfect scenario would be to get 1,000, but we just don't know until we see that allocation come from the state. And I think the most important thing about it for us right now is that no matter who gets it, since we have this captured queued group, I'm talking about between WCU and Jackson County, that we're going to be able to really put a dent in that captured group. And so that's just good news, right? Because I don't think that it's going to be I do think one of us should get a larger allotment than 300. And so under those circumstances, I think it's good news.
Now, going back to when we receive the vaccines or doses, Thursday evening, you're gonna find out how many doses you're gonna have to be able to plan for next week.
Yeah. So
Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, Monday, you all, and Tuesday, you schedule those doses that you get on Thursday night.
So what happens is we have to put the schedule together. So, and we've gotten real creative. Just a reminder, we use what's called Pick a Time. That's our schedule that we already have in-house that we use for our benefits when we schedule our own employees to come in and talk about benefits. But so we know Thursday night, and this is why, please remember, all this is subject to change. And what's been happening to us, it changes every couple of weeks. But we're made aware, and this isn't for public, but we're under, and it could be Thursday night, it could be Friday, it's right around that time period. We're made aware of the amount. Okay? Friday morning, we're literally, management team is having conversations about what does that mean for next week. A decision is made about putting the scheduler together, not scheduling people, but the schedule itself. You have to build it in our software system. So a decision is made at that point for the scheduler to build it. And then what we decide is we're not calling, since we're making our primary shot on Thursday and Friday, we're not calling people until Monday. Okay, we use Friday to organize ourselves. And then Monday we come in, we have a crew of people that can call and actually fill out that schedule. This is what's going to change, Mark. This is literally going to change in 2 to 3 weeks, how we're doing this. And then we use Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday to get the Thursday and Friday scheduled out through our Pick a Time system, okay? And that's because we already have this pre-captured group that we've been working on putting them on CVMS and getting all that information in. And so what happens is those shots don't actually show up until Wednesday. So, and then we have from Thursday until Monday to get them in arms and get them in the system. So if you understand that, then you understand why Thursday and Friday are primary, and then what you're about to see next month. Really now, it's going to start catching up with us in about a couple of weeks. We're automatically scheduling the second shot And the second shot's gonna be on Mondays and Tuesdays.
They're already doing that.
Yeah, we're already, February is a little
Yeah.
different because we started off on Thursdays and Fridays, both first and second. Now we've transitioned to what I just say. So February's schedule's a little different. But where we're gonna eventually evolve is Thursday is primary first, Friday is secondary first. So Thursday and Friday, depending on the schedule. And then you got Monday and Tuesday. Okay, you got Tuesday is the primary second, and then Monday is the secondary second. I don't know if that makes any sense. You don't automatically say it's gonna be Thursday and Friday because you don't know you got enough shots. So you gotta have a Thursday's the primary, Friday's the secondary. And then when we automatically do Thursday, then 30 or 26 days later, we're already scheduling you for that Tuesday or that Monday a month later. And then we've got it organized now to where all the players who need to understand and know that's in organizing this, we've got it scheduled out calendars, we've got it all set up. I'm just proud of the group of how they got it organized, and we're ready to move forward. And the big thing for today is I'm kind of worried about us ending where we just ended, because I'm just telling you, this process is changing in 2 weeks, 2 to 3 weeks, about how people are going to get scheduled. Nothing will change about, we'll find out Thursday night. We'll develop out the schedule Friday, and then we have to decide when that schedule is released. Okay. And we're still debating and discussing that out, because once we start putting the work onto the individuals, okay, to not only go schedule themselves, but they will also be registering themselves in CVMS. This is going to require a lot of press releases and the media to help us with this, a lot of education for the public. And then it's still going to require, we're not going to instead of having 14 people making phone calls, we're going to have about half of those people double checking and seeing people who have registered themselves, whether or not they've actually filled out CVMS. And so we're still working out some of these details, but that's where we're at right now. It's good news is, I think, is that we're down to 3,000 as population group, and hopefully we've got things coming in place that we can get that group, which is the most vulnerable group, vaccinated by March. Dictated by the amount of shots we get.
Any other questions or comments?
Thanks, sir.
See, we didn't have anybody sign up to speak. Okay. Next is our consent agenda. Item 1, finance report for January 2021. Ms. Fox.
Afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Go over the highlights for the month of January. The general fund revenues collected to date is $49,543,574. That's 69.18% of budget. The expenditures are $38,785,618. That's 55.81% of budget. The revenues at this point are $10,757,956 more than the expenditures. The ad valorem taxes collected, $33,849,118. That's 96.83% of budget. The motor vehicles taxes collected, $790,805. That's 54.47% of budget. The prior year taxes collected, $470,927. That's 52.3% of budget. We received the sales and use tax distribution for the month of January, representing October's sales. That amount was $1,483,826. That's 20.92% more than we received last year. The Article 46 distribution was $166,767. We received the FY 1920 sales tax reimbursement in the amount of $509,850. And of that amount, $194,799 was payments through contractors
Is that all the way through June 30th?
through June 30th.
That's all of it.
Yeah.
Wow, that's,
The landfill disposal fees collected, $1,740,154. That's 92.19% of budget. And the prior year landfill disposal fees, $40,098. That's 66.83% of budget. Attached to the report is Value Health's second quarter finance report for fiscal year 2021. The revenues are $238,317,553, and the expenditures are $229,036,893. They had a net income of $6,326,001. Go over the growth revenues. We're still seeing increases in those. The code enforcement's over their percentage collected for the year at 16.73%. Environmental health's over 55.46%, and registered deeds is over 93%. The general fund contingency balance at the end of January was $1,211,993. Glad to answer any questions on the report.
Any questions? If not, we'll look at item 2, the budget ordinance amendments.
This is a general fund amendment. It's an increase of $626,248.92. We have public safety payroll reimbursement from the CARES Act, changing the video project to the jail budget. That amounts $87,033.44. Progress Energy Neighbor Fund increase of $1,427. Crisis intervention decrease of $600, and helping each member cope a decrease of $18,192. We had recreation donations $3,225. We had a links program $1,300 increase, and insurance settlements $27,421. The next items are from DOT. We have, these are all CARES Act related. $18,437 is an increase for vaccinations for transit. The CARES Act for transit, $471,146, and CARES Act for the elderly program through transit, $35,052.
$471,000 from DOT for transit, is that, how can that be spent?
It can be spent on drivers, any administrative leave that had to be granted to the drivers, gas and propane, and operating supplies. Glad to answer any
Any
questions.
other questions for these? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we'll hear item 3, the tax collector and refund reports for January of 2021. We'll recognize Ms. Henson.
Good evening.
Good evening.
The 2020 taxes collected for the county were $4,594,105. The delinquent taxes collected were $72,543. The total deposited for January was $4,844,313.38. Also for the month, there were refunds of $235.30. Overpayment refunds of $27,990.04, and releases of $68.75, and the tax collection rate through January 31st was 93.62%. Any questions? Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Now, we've heard the 3 items under the consent agenda. We have a motion to approve all 3.
I move to do so.
Okay, is there a second?
Second,
Any question or discussion? If not, Madam Clerk, would you call the roll, please?
Commissioner Jones,
Yes.
Commissioner Strickland,
Yes.
Commissioner Woody,
yes.
Commissioner Dees,
Yes.
Chairman Knight.
Yes, motion carries. Next is new business. We have the comprehensive economic development strategy. I recognize Mr. Adams.
Yes, sir. This is something that was presented to the board and discussed with the board with our former economic developer, Rich Price. And this is something the board that agreed at the work session to bring back for consideration.
All right, do we have a motion to approve the strategy?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second,
Any questions or discussion or comments concerning this?
We did say we were gonna attach this information to our future job requirements for the Economic Development Council.
Well, I'm not so sure we're going to attach the information, but we're going to reference it to say,
We did reference it.
Okay.
oh, good.
Comment in there.
Thank you.
other comments, questions? Madam Clerk, could you call the roll, please?
Commissioner Dees,
Yes.
Commissioner Woody,
Yes.
Commissioner Strickland,
Yes.
Commissioner Jones,
Yes.
Chairman Knight.
Yes, motion carries. Next is item 5, the meeting schedule. Mr. Adams?
Yes, sir. You have before you again this previous list of meetings where there's a conflict with the meeting time in this boardroom. Obviously, the February 16th, this is something that the board had changed this meeting to a night meeting. You had asked me to go and look at potentially other areas. I did go research and I did have Ms. Tucker, my assistant, call over to SCC, and all of these remaining dates, excluding May 11th, the Borough building, the Borough meeting rooms are open, meaning if the board wished to have a day meeting versus a night meeting, again, the only way we can meet in this room on these dates is if you schedule that to be a night meeting. The Borough building right now, the meeting rooms are available. I did go look at the health department, and the health department, the room, if we keep the 6-foot distance, it would be big enough to meet. It would be tight by the time you get 10 of us, and then you get maybe a couple staff. We would definitely have to be able to Zoom and definitely have to be able to just take advantage of full technology and limit the public. And right now, I know that they're working on that right now. I talked to IT, and IT said they're working on a better solution over there that would not, April would be a safe time frame if you wanted to try to meet at the health department on any of these dates, because they felt comfortable that they would have an IT solution by then. March maybe, but April they felt very comfortable. So the choices now before the board is to keep meeting here, move these meetings at night, or move some of these meetings, all but the May 11th meeting, to meeting at the Borough building for SEC, and or look at the health department meeting room sometime April.
What is the conflict with May 11th?
For the Borough building is they have something else scheduled.
I move we meet here at 6 o'clock, all of those dates.
Okay, so we have a motion to just change the time to 6 p.m. and leave the location here. All right, is there a second?
Well, I'll second it just for the sake of
Okay.
discussion.
Okay.
I'm flexible and that works very well for me. I was curious about for the staff, is it harder for the staff to move? And then, of course, we have several people that have jobs outside of this, and maybe 6 is maybe a difficult time, I don't know. I'm pretty flexible, in other words, but I want to make it what's best for our staff and you all that, have other jobs.
I had said that, I don't want to speak for them, but it's just that it's more work to move,
Yeah.
but it's also a day meeting, which is within our normal working hours.
Okay,
So
sure.
there's a back and forth into this conversation
Yeah.
about, that's why I just turn around and defer to the board in
Okay.
regards to that, because, I would almost guess that some people would be willing to do a little bit more work in order to not have to meet at night. And some people may want to meet at night and not have to go through the organizational effort of moving it.
That's good.
And these two places, when you look at the borough facility, you'll see it
Yeah.
Tuesday. So what we're able to do, we're getting rooms C and D, just so you know, we're not doing you can break those rooms into smaller rooms or better. We're actually getting a large room there. So when I had Carrie check, I made sure she checked that we're not talking about one small meeting, we're talking about 2 meeting rooms that are available so that we can spread out. They have digital capability there, all of that.
I can drive a little more safer during daytime than I can at nighttime going up and down that mountain. With the construction and the paint lines on the road, there's
Oh, yeah.
some rough places.
That's
So
true.
Be careful.
So day is good for you, yeah. What's better for you?
Night's really better for me because then it doesn't break up the middle of the day for me. But I mean, it's only one day, so.
Yeah.
The way the weather's been going, I mean, it rained out every day anyway.
That's the truth.
What about you?
It doesn't matter. I can do anything.
Yeah.
So right now, the motion is to move it to nights.
I'll remove my motion.
Okay.
Y'all meet whenever you want to, I'll be there.
Martin, does the days work better for you? Is that what you're saying?
Just from the driving perspective, yes.
Okay.
But I'm
Well, it's so dark too.
Well, let me ask you, would you rather be home right now? Angie, would you rather be home right now? I mean,
What did you say, Angie?
I said, I'll do whatever you want.
I knew you were going to say that.
I mean, it kind of
Heather.
work with each other's schedules, really. I mean, there's times when everybody wants, at the end of the day, everybody wants to go home,
I can say this, when you look at the reason you have day and night meetings, okay? So when you look at day meetings, okay, whether it be a regular scheduled meeting or a work session, that's intended to allow access for county employees and there are some people that work at night, okay, that you try to make sure they have access during the day, okay, because they may work at a restaurant start at 6 p.m. and they need to be here during the day. And then the nighttime meetings are basically intended to try to provide access to people who have day jobs.
Right.
And so that's why there's traditionally always been the blend of day and night meetings is for access for both county employees and for people who work at night during the day, and then for people who work at the day to have access at night.
Makes sense.
What if we do a blend?
Yeah.
What if we mix it up? We know the work sessions do work better on the days. So we got 2 of them on the board. We got on the schedule, we got one that's for April 13th. We do it at the day meeting, but do it at SCC. And then the May 11th at 1 o'clock work session, we do it at the health department. By then, hopefully the IT stuff will be worked out. So that takes care of that issue of being available during the day for work sessions. And then that would leave us 3 regular meetings. So we'll pick and choose, maybe do two of them at 2 at night, 1 at day. Doesn't matter to me. 2 at day, 1 at night. I don't, whatever works out. 316 is that's the 3rd. Trying to think, is there anything happening? Anything on our agenda going forward? Of course, I'm trying to think, anything going forward that we would need that makes a difference? Because sometimes presentations about what's on the agenda also makes, when we're looked at scheduling off-site meetings in times past, when we would look to schedule meetings off property, sometimes we would have to, we would say that's not a good night to do that or a good day to do that because we've got this item on the agenda that doesn't work well to be somewhere else. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
At this point, I can't think of anything.
we run into April 13th. That's when we're gonna have a little bit more budget conversation, but the reality is that the places that we're talking about have internet access.
Okay.
If we were talking about moving these meetings out at, say, Tuckasegee or something to where we don't have access to internet, then that would pose a potential larger problem because people couldn't zoom in but because where we're proposing to meet at has access to technology, I'm not aware of anything out there. Now I say that and watch the
Yeah, watch it be dead in the water.
Well, we'd know, but by then, and we could just adjust.
Yeah.
So March 16th day, SCC. I'm just gonna throw this out there. March 16th day at SCC. Is that right? Am I looking through?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. April 13th work session day, SCC, 1 o'clock SCC. April 20th, 6 p.m. here. May 11th, 1 p.m. at the health department, and then May 18th, 6 p.m. here. Does that work?
It sounds good.
So, and I'll put that in the form of a motion.
Brian, did you say 4:13?
I have no clue what I said. Let's see.
Alright.
That'd be 1 o'clock
Okay, 1 o'clock there.
At
Yeah.
SCC.
at SCC.
The other 2 that month are at 6.
Yeah, the
I'll
6th.
second that
Okay.
motion.
Somebody have to tell me that. Make sure Angie or somebody give that to me. 'Cause
All
I
right,
just-
so you want me to just repeat it? Or you wanna
Yes.
repeat it?
Yeah, that'd be
Want me to
good.
repeat it?
Write it
Let me-
down.
I'll repeat it and you tell me if it's the right thing. So we have March 16th is going to be a 1 p.m. meeting at SCC.
Okay,
All right, that is a regular meeting. April 13th is going to be a 1 p.m. meeting at SCC. That's a work session. April 20th is going to be a 6 p.m. meeting here. That's a regular meeting. May 11th is going to be a 1 p.m. meeting at the health department, and that's a work session. And then May 18th is going to be a 6 p.m. meeting here.
okay.
And when y'all vote on this, Angie and I are gonna talk about, we're gonna do a master list and just hand everybody out as a reminder of all of our meetings.
Thank you.
Okay, any other comments or questions? If not, then Madam Clerk, you call the roll, please.
Commissioner Jones?
Yes.
Commissioner Strickland?
Yes.
Commissioner Woody?
Yes.
Commissioner Dean?
Yes.
Chairman Hunt?
Yes, motion carries. Okay, next is item 6, resolution R21-06, supporting the abandonment and the addition of State Road 1331, Dr. Killian Road. Mr. Poston?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and the Commissioners. Much like we discussed at the work session, DOT has reported out, and Mr. Lee was here at the work session to confirm that that road has now been constructed in such a way that DOT can accept maintenance and maintain that. So the request before you is for you to consider approving resolution R21-06 that would recommend that we abandon the old right-of-way associated with State Road 1331 and have DOT accept the new right-of-way with that same SR number, locally known as Dr. Killian Drive. I'll be happy to answer any additional questions the board may have, but staff would just make a recommendation the board consider supporting this resolution.
Is there a motion?
I move that we support this resolution.
And there's a motion to support. Is there a second?
Second.
Any question or discussion? If not, Madam Clerk, would you call the roll, please?
Commissioner Deep?
Yes.
Commissioner Woody?
Yes.
Commissioner Strickland?
Yes.
Mr. Jones?
Yes.
Chairman Mack?
Yes, motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Next is our appointments. Agriculture Advisory Board. Gentlemen, have you all had a chance to secure any names?
I have spoke to an individual who's gonna check with their employer, make sure there's no conflicts, and so I should have that name by next meeting.
Okay.
I spoke also with Mr. Stevens. He forwarded me the email on all the duties and everything, and I forwarded that to Jason Kelly last week. I spoke with him last Friday, and he hadn't had time to look at it.
Okay.
So I said to him, please, if you could look at it this weekend, because I got to do something by Tuesday. I didn't hear anything from him. I texted him this morning, and he said that he didn't want to do it. So possibly his brother, he's gonna talk to his brother about it. So I'm gonna give him a few days for that. If he doesn't want, then I'm gonna move on and find somebody. But I'm surprised that Jason didn't want to do that, being that he's in the agricultural, and it would have benefited him, a little bit in some ways.
Okay.
But he decided not to.
Just keep it looking. Cemetery Board, item 8. Likewise, Commissioner Striblin, this one of these appointments is yours. And then the other one is Commissioner
Ms.
Williams.
Grayson did agree to
She
stay
did,
on.
okay,
And I talked to Randy Cave and he also agreed
okay,
to stay on.
all right. Do we have a motion then? Both of these are eligible for reappointment, so. Do I have a motion then to reappoint these two individuals?
I move that we reappoint Billy J. Bryson and Randy Cave to the Cemetery Board.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any question or discussion? If not, then Madam Clerk, would you call the roll, please?
Commissioner Jones?
Yes.
Commissioner Strickland?
Yes.
Commissioner Woody?
Yes.
Commissioner Deep?
Yes.
Chairman Mack?
Yes, motion carries. Mr. Poston, do we have any update on item 9, the planning board?
Yes, I believe that Winchester has completed the background check and Mr. Deeds.
We got a fellow.
Good deal. Commissioner Dietz?
I hope I pronounced his name correct. Mr. Brian Barwood. And he's a surveyor. He's a younger fella compared to most of us. And from what and talking to him last week, he'd like to do this, and he was more than glad to. He had to.
Oh,
Very good.
Thought that was a great honor to get asked to get to do that. So we've got one, and Heather worked on his son, of course, like this. And I spoke to him, so he'll be ready to go.
Very good. Very good. So you put that in.
Oh, when we're gonna make it, what he said.
All right, good deal. So Commissioner Dietz has put forward a nomination or a motion. Is there a second?
second.
All right, any question or discussion? If not, then Madam Clerk, if you call the roll.
Commissioner Deep?
Yes.
Commissioner Woody?
Yes.
Commissioner Strickland?
Yes, ma'am.
Commissioner Jones?
Yes.
Chairman Mack?
Yes, motion carries. And then on the Transit Advisory Board, I don't remember where we were at on that one.
Well, I do. We have not we've got a fellow coming from the police department. And the fellow that they're wanting to put on police department, I talked to the chief at length, but there's one little problem there, the fellow that, he feels like it'd be best to do this, he's involved with communications and all of this as far as the community. But he lives in Hazel, so he's not, doesn't live in the county. But he thought still that he would really be helpful. And so Heather I'll let Heather
Yeah,
tell
the
the rest of
bylaws
the story.
do not require that it be a Jackson County resident. He works in Jackson County, so under their bylaws for the transit, that would be allowed. We have to
okay.
So we don't have that name yet. We're not going to until I speak to him. But now, if, should we be in, do we have any problem with that?
No, I think we'll just table this one until we got more information.
So that's what we're doing.
Commissioner Woody, did you have a comment?
Yeah, for another one, I've heard back from a person who Angie's reached out to and sent the application to, but we haven't gotten it back. And he lives in the Qualla Boundary and is an enrolled member, so we'll see what happens.
All right, well, we'll carry this one over. Press conference, who do we have on the list?
Beth is the only one on, and of course she was gonna text us.
Beth, if you've got a question, now is your time to text. I guess if we don't get a response in just a matter of a few minutes. No questions. All right, thank you, Miss Lawrence. We have need for closed session?
2 items, yes, sir, personnel and criminal investigation.
Okay. Hearing that, do I have a motion to go into closed session?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye. We'll give them a chance to disengage the cameras. See y'all.